11 years ago, I suffered a severe back injury lifting weights.
Not only did this give me serious pain in my lower back, but it led to overcompensation in other parts of my body, like my neck. During this time, I suffered from severe neck pain that would flare up from making a wrong move, or even just sleeping on it wrong.
But fast forward to today, and I can squat, do the splits, deadlift, and do deep back bends with zero pain. How did I do it? How did I go from broken spine to bulletproof spine? I learned this method by training side by side with professional and Olympic athletes and studying with world-class therapists and healers. I studied pro athletes because I knew they had access to the best science and the best therapists in the world. And since they get paid a lot of money, if they get hurt, they need to rehab as fast as possible. And they need to stay injury-free through extreme physical stress. Now, rehabbing fast and staying injury-free were definitely skills that I wanted, so I started studying. The healing systems that I researched and the mentors that I studied with all had slightly different approaches, but they all followed three basic principles that allowed me to fix my back pain in a couple of days, keep it off for months and now years, bulletproof it by making it strong and flexible. I simplified these three principles and put them into a system I call the TSR method. I'm going to break down the TSR method for you here to teach you how to rehab like an athlete, even if you aren't one. In this video, you will learn the 3 secrets to fix back pain, including the magic pill for quick pain relief, why stretching and yoga aren't enough, and the one step that 90% of people don't know about, and how if you skip this step, you're almost guaranteed to end up with back pain again. And finally, I'll teach you how I brought these 3 principles together to create a mobility practice that optimized my body to the highest level possible, so that I never had back pain again.
Plus, as a bonus, if you like what you learn in this video, you also have a full 45-day neck pain roadmap for you to follow. This roadmap will help you create a personalized daily TSR practice that is specific to your body. You can use this roadmap to keep neck pain off for the rest of your life.
This roadmap will help you create a personalized daily TSR practice that is specific to your body. You can use this roadmap to keep back pain off for the rest of your life. You can find the link in the description of this video. But for now, let me show you what the TSR method is. TSR stands for Tissue Work, Stretching, and Re-education. The TSR method is a type of mobility and flexibility work, but it's probably very different from anything else you've seen or tried. It's designed to systematically heal your muscles by lengthening them, strengthening them, and bulletproofing them in the long term. The reason it is different is because traditional methods like yoga or foam rolling just aren't comprehensive enough. These traditional practices don't fully heal your muscle damage or scar tissue. Don't get me wrong, stretching, yoga, or foam rolling can help, but only a little. They provide short-term pain relief, and that's about it. The TSR approach is a hyper-targeted, step-by-step, holistic methodology. Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about.
Let's say you are a person who has been going through a lot of stress. During that time, your muscles tighten as a fight or flight response. This happens most often in the levator scapulae muscle. This muscle travels down the side of your neck from the top of the cervical spine to the shoulder blade. The levator scapulae, like all muscles, are made up of tiny fibers. Think of these fibers like bamboo, sturdy and flexible when they are healthy. But when the fibers become overused, they start to spasm and contract, forming dense clumps. We call these clumps knots or trigger points. Knots, while they may seem like a small annoyance, can actually lead to big issues. In fact, you may already be feeling these issues in the form of neck pain and tightness. The levator scapulae, as it tightens up, pulls the back of your shoulder blades upward. This moves bones in your shoulders and spine, causing excessive shoulder and back pain. Knots also create weak points within the muscle that make it very easy for your fibers to tear, aka a muscle strain.
If you want to avoid all of this, you have to be able to stop the muscle spasm. But stretching and yoga alone won't stop that spasm. You see, in a stretch, when the muscle elongates, you feel temporary relief. But after stretching, the spasms come back. The TSR method is designed to stop spasms and heal tears first, Only after that can you effectively elongate the muscles to a natural resting state. So how do you stop spasms, release knots, and heal tears? Step 1 is targeted tissue work. Targeted tissue work is a form of massage that releases muscle knots and heals strains by targeting them with pinpoint accuracy. In fact, 7-time Super Bowl champion Tom Brady, whom many consider the greatest quarterback of all time, attributes his unusual longevity in a brutal sport like football to one word: pliability. And this is so much more than just traditional foam rolling or a generic fluffy massage. To get a muscle to relax and release, you have to be able to hyper-target the area of the spasm. This targeted tissue work, or precision massage, makes your muscles unclench easier. It also helps get blood flow to the injured area, which makes recovery 2 to 3 times more rapid. This may sound like a new or cutting-edge approach, but the idea is actually quite old. It goes back to a strategy you've probably heard before: RICE, or rest, ice, compression, and elevation. Tissue work is how you get pinpoint compression on the injured or knotted area. Compression reduces inflammation and swelling, allowing for more blood flow, getting more oxygen to the injured area. In fact, there was a recent study from Harvard University that used robots to massage injured mice over 14 days. Their research showed that tissue work can flush inflammatory cells and white blood cells out of the injured muscle tissue, resulting in an increased immune function in the muscles. Professional athletes that I studied and trained with, while watching their rehab and recovery methods, I saw that they often had other people, trained therapists, doing the tissue work on them. But the problem was I didn't have thousands of dollars to spend on these trained therapists. So I had to learn ways that I could do tissue work on myself. Fortunately, one of my mentors, a world-class chiropractor and body worker named Phil, taught me how to do this style of trigger point self-massage that I had never found anywhere else. These targeted tissue work exercises used a variety of kind of strange tools to release muscle knots and heal strains by targeting them with that pinpoint accuracy. This was very different from the generic massages or surface-level foam rolling that I'd been exposed to before. These techniques radically decreased my scar tissue and promoted blood flow to the area of the fiber tears. This instantly took away my pain and increased the speed of my recovery by 200%. How do I know? Because I used to get back injuries all the time, and my healing pattern was very predictable. It took me 2 weeks to get out of pain, 2 more weeks to start feeling kind of normal again, and maybe 2+ more weeks for the general stiffness and tightness to return to what I called acceptable levels, or levels that I thought were normal for a weightlifter like myself. But after Phil, I recovered in just days instead of 1+ months. So there I am noticing something very interesting. Instant pain relief, recovering in days rather than months. I knew that I was onto something. But my journey wasn't complete. This led me to step 2 of the TSR method. Step 2 of the TSR method is stretching. Now, targeted tissue work is great for fast pain relief, but when you combine it with progressive stretching, you supercharge your pain relief and your flexibility gains. But why should you do the tissue work before the stretching? What's so important about that order? Well, let me ask you a question. What stretches better, bubblegum or bubblegum after it's chewed up a bit? Obviously, chewed bubblegum stretches better. Same thing with your muscles. Tissue work chews up muscles and puts them in their natural resting state. Then stretching becomes twice as effective. This combination creates flexible, knot-free, pain-free muscles. The cool part is using this 1-2 punch can help you release knots and fix muscle strains in just a few days rather than a few months. As a bonus effect, long-term use of this pairing, the tissue work and the stretching, will significantly speed up your flexibility gains too. For me, it completely revolutionized my body. However, there is one little problem we haven't talked about yet. What caused your back pain in the first place? And are you still doing that? For me, even though I fixed my back pain with tissue work and stretching, I still had bad form on my squats because of an underlying hip impingement issue. So even though I got pain relief and quick recovery, I had to fix my technique and my underlying hip tightness before my back pain went away for good.
Or, going back to our example of the levator scapulae muscle, if you're constantly stressed and sleep on it wrong and sit in a chair for long periods of time, you will continue to have underactive core muscles, overactive shoulder muscles, and an overactive levator scapulae muscle. This is a perfect recipe for neck pain.
So even with tissue work and stretching, you'll still be fighting against the current. 2 steps forward, the tissue work and the stretching, but then 1 step back, which is sitting all day and not strengthening the right muscles. This is the one thing that will hold you back from permanent pain relief. But if you learn this last critical step, as I did, you can keep back pain off forever. That brings us to step 3, re-education. Re-education is the process of bulletproofing your body by 1, changing lifestyle habits like sitting too much, 2, learning how to move properly, and 3, increasing stability and motor control via re-educating your body. For example, to fix the QL in your low back, you need to learn how to strengthen the muscles that support the QL in your core. But here we aren't talking about just doing more sit-ups and crunches. Core training does not mean ab training. True core training is way more nuanced than that. In fact, my other mentor, Carl, who trained me by having me work out side by side with his Olympic athletes, used to design very intricate 9+ exercise core circuits before every workout. At that time, in 2008, I was used to just doing a few planks or crunches at the end of my workout. But Carl changed all that. He told me, Olympic athletes are like Ferraris. If we don't take care of the Ferrari's engine, the spine, the car ain't gonna do crap. But if you learn to train your core in the way Carl trained me, you won't be overusing and abusing your spine. And if you aren't constantly overusing it, you won't be making new knots and trigger points. And once you aren't creating new knots and trigger points and strains, your chronic pain and injuries can truly never come back. Now you are no longer fighting an uphill battle. This re-education, the core training, the technique training, and the lifestyle changes, were the final missing piece of the back pain puzzle for me. When I added step 3, the re-education, to the previous tissue work and stretching, I knew why my back got injured, I knew how to fix it, and I knew how to keep it pain-free forever. With these 3 steps of the TSR method installed as part of my daily practice, I haven't had back pain in years. Not only that, I have even achieved feats of flexibility that I would never have imagined using these TSR principles. The bottom line is the TSR method is the easiest, fastest, most effective mobility method I've ever found. But it does have 2 issues. First, if tissue work, stretching, and re-education are done incorrectly, they can lead to injury, as can any pain relief practice. Bad movements or bad practices could actually increase the risk to your back, or increase the number of muscle knots and strains you have. Bad movements can even cause disc and spine problems if you aren't careful. Of course, this journey to mastery takes time. For example, studies show that it takes roughly 10,000 hours, or 10 years, to become truly masterful at something, to become world-class. And massage, stretching, and strengthening are no different. Now, if you want to spend your 10,000 hours patching together all that info, great. There's a lot of great info on YouTube and on the internet if you know how to filter it all. For example, you can start with the free videos that I have on our GotRom channel. But I also know that some of you want an easier, done-for-you kind of solution.
This is why we created our GotRom neck pain program, which I mentioned earlier. You can grab it from the link in the description of this video. It shows you step by step how to use the TSR system to target and heal your neck pain. That way you don't end up on the floor in a few days thinking, why did I try that random neck pain stretch from YouTube? Or the random exercise from the chiropractor? Or the random yoga sequence? Also, not to mention, there are over 20 muscles in the neck. How do you decipher where your pain is coming from? In our neck pain program, we walk you step by step through all of this.
In the program, there are over 20 tissue work exercises, 16 stretches, and 15 re-education movements. I will guide you through them, and you will learn which ones work best for you. We will then take you through a roadmap that shows you how to put together your daily practice. When you follow it, you will have pain relief in a few days, and most importantly, you'll have a TSR mobility practice that will keep off your pain for the rest of your life. Remember, in 2011, I couldn't even put on my own socks and shoes without help. Now, I'm lifting heavy weights, doing back bends, and doing the splits with 0 pain. And it's not just me. 20,000 plus of our students around the globe are doing the things they love without chronic pain. And the good news? So can you.